Soldiers laughed when she walked with a limp, until the general saw her silver star. The laughter started quietly. Just a few chuckles at first, then it spread across the training field like a ripple. Rows of soldiers stood in formation under the hot morning sun, their boots lined perfectly on the gravel parade ground. It was inspection day, one of the most serious mornings on the entire base. Every uniform was spotless, every posture rigid, except for one detail that caught everyone's attention. A woman walking slowly toward the formation. She wore the same uniform as everyone else. Same rank patch. Same calm expression. But there was something different. She walked with a noticeable limp. And in a place where strength and physical perfection were everything, that limp became the center of attention. A few soldiers near the back exchanged smirks. One whispered, "How did she even pass training?" Another soldier quietly laughed. "Looks like someone skipped leg day for the last 10 years. More chuckles followed. None of them knew her name. None of them knew her story. All they saw was a soldier who didn't walk like the rest. She ignored them. Step by step, she moved toward her place in formation. Her face remained calm, focused straight ahead as if the whispers around her didn't exist. Private Logan, standing 2 rows back, watched her carefully. Unlike the others, he didn't laugh. Something about her didn't fit the joke everyone was making. It wasn't just the limp. It was the way she carried herself. Despite the uneven steps, her posture was perfect, shoulders back, chin level, eyes steady. The kind of posture soldiers spent years trying to master. Still, the whispers continued. Maybe she's in the wrong unit. Maybe she's a desk officer pretending to be field ready. Then someone muttered the comment that made several others laugh harder. Hope the general doesn't see her walking like that. As if summoned by the remark, the sound of a military vehicle rolled across the base. Heads turned immediately. A black command jeep approached the parade ground and stopped beside the formation. The driver stepped out quickly and opened the rear door. From inside, the general stepped out. The entire field snapped to attention. The laughter died instantly. Boots slammed together. Hands locked at their sides. The air shifted from mockery to rigid discipline in seconds. The general was known throughout the base as a strict and observant leader, someone who noticed everything. And today, his sharp eyes were already scanning the formation. Row after row of soldiers stood perfectly still as he walked slowly past them. Then his gaze stopped. Not on the strongest soldier. Not on the most decorated officer. But on the woman with the limp. He watched her for a moment as she stood at attention like everyone else. A few soldiers nearby felt nervous. Some even lowered their eyes slightly, worried the general might notice the earlier laughter. The woman didn't move. Her expression remained calm. The general stepped closer. His eyes dropped briefly to her chest, scanning the ribbons on her uniform. At first, his face showed nothing. Then suddenly, he froze. His eyes locked on one specific metal pinned just above her pocket. For a split second, the general looked genuinely shocked. Across the formation, soldiers noticed the pause. Something had changed. Slowly, the general straightened his posture. Then, without saying a single word, he raised his hand in a sharp salute. Not to a commander, not to a visiting officer, but to the soldier everyone had been laughing at just moments before. And in that instant, the entire formation realized they might have made a very serious mistake. The whispers started slowly, almost imperceptibly. "What did he see?" one soldier muttered. "Silver star?" another repeated, squinting at the glint of metal pinned above her pocket. Private Logan's eyes widened. He had seen the medal before, not in the classroom, not in basic training, but in reports. The Silver Star wasn't just any decoration. It was one of the highest honors in the military, awarded only for extraordinary valor in combat. The soldiers who had been laughing earlier suddenly felt the weight of their own ignorance. They had mocked her limp, unaware that it was the visible trace of bravery, sacrifice, and survival under fire. Even the strongest jock, who had cracked the first joke, swallowed hard. He realized their mockery had been utterly inappropriate. The general didn't speak immediately. Instead, he walked the length of the formation slowly, his eyes never leaving her. Every soldier felt the air tighten. Some of them shifted nervously, suddenly aware that their previous laughter could be a serious breach of protocol and respect. Finally, the general stopped in front of her. He leaned slightly closer, as if to inspect the metal again. The sunlight glinted off its silver surface. Then he spoke. Just one word. Carter. Her name was crisp, precise, and carried weight. She nodded in response, standing perfectly still. The general's voice rose, carrying across the formation. Your courage, your service, it's noted. A few soldiers exchanged glances. Their laughter had turned into silent awe. Private Logan's mind raced. He had underestimated her completely. This wasn't just a soldier walking with a limp. This was someone who had faced combat situations that few could survive, and had earned the Silver Star for actions most couldn't even imagine. The rest of the formation began to straighten further, almost instinctively. Some whispered quietly among themselves. Others stared in shock, trying to process what they had just witnessed. The general turned slightly, addressing the entire formation without raising his voice unnecessarily. Valor is not measured by appearances. It is measured by actions on the battlefield, by courage under fire, by the lives saved, and by the sacrifices made. Every soldier felt the weight of his words. The realization sank in slowly. The woman they had mocked was not only a hero, she was someone who had put her life on the line repeatedly for every one of them. Then, almost imperceptibly, he gave another salute. This time, it wasn't just directed at her, it was a signal to the entire formation. Respect and honor come first, judgment last. Private Logan felt a lump in his throat. The pride he had once reserved for athletic victories or ranks now seemed trivial compared to the courage he was witnessing. For the first time that morning, the soldiers truly understood. The limp was not weakness. It was proof of valor. And the general's acknowledgement had just flipped the entire dynamic of the formation. Suddenly, the field felt smaller. The laughter and whispers were gone. In their place was a quiet respect that hung heavily in the air. Some soldiers even found themselves stepping a little straighter, aware that they were now in the presence of someone extraordinary. Private Logan's eyes met hers briefly. She didn't smile, didn't nod. Her calm composure said it all. She had earned every ounce of respect without a word, and the soldiers now realized that some battles are fought in silence, long before anyone ever hears about them. The general finally stepped back, allowing the formation to settle, but the lesson had already been delivered. Heroism is never loud, it's earned in courage, sacrifice, and the moments no one sees. The formation remained silent. Even the wind seemed to pause across the parade ground. Private Logan and the others couldn't take their eyes off her. The limp was no longer the focus, it was a symbol of survival, resilience, and courage under fire. Then the general spoke again, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had finally seen the truth. Carter, he said, the Silver Star is awarded only for extraordinary valor. Would you care to explain? For the first time, her lips curved slightly, not a smile, but a trace of acknowledgement. She stepped forward just enough to address the formation, though her eyes remained calm and unwavering. Sir, she began, her tone steady, commanding respect. During my last deployment, my unit was tasked with extracting civilians trapped in hostile territory. The mission was compromised when our insertion team came under fire from multiple enemy positions. Gasps and murmurs spread among the soldiers. The stories behind medals were often dry, reduced to bullet points on a record. But her voice painted the scene in vivid detail. I led my team through a series of ambushes, she continued. We secured all civilians, neutralized threats, and maintained our position until extraction. I was wounded in the process. She lifted her sleeve slightly to reveal the faded scar that had caused her limp, a badge of honor, raw and real. The soldiers who had laughed earlier felt their faces burn. Their mockery had been not just inappropriate, it had been ignorant. Private Logan whispered to the soldier next to him. She saved lives. She risked everything. The general remained silent, absorbing every word. He had dealt with countless soldiers, heroes among heroes, but few had carried themselves with this combination of calm, competence, and lethal experience. Carter continued, her eyes sweeping the formation. I do not speak of this for recognition. I do not seek applause. But I will not allow my actions, or my sacrifices, to be dismissed because of appearances. For a moment, the field was utterly still. Every soldier felt the weight of her words. And then a junior officer whispered, almost to himself, she's a legend. Even Private Logan nodded internally. He had thought he understood courage. Now he realized he hadn't even scratched the surface. The general finally broke the silence, his voice heavy with respect. Major Carter, he said, your courage, leadership, and sacrifice are not just commendable, they are exemplary. Every soldier here should take note. The soldiers straightened instinctively, their eyes tracing her limp as if seeing it in a new light, not as weakness, but as proof of what she had endured to earn that medal. Private Logan felt a swell of pride, not for himself, but for being part of the same formation as someone who had walked through fire and lived to bring others back safely. And at that moment, he understood something crucial. True heroism doesn't ask for validation. It only demands respect, earned through action, sacrifice, and integrity. The general gave a final nod, signaling the entire formation. The lesson was clear, the hero's story revealed, and the mockery of minutes ago now seemed unimaginable. Every soldier present knew, without question, that the woman walking with a limp was someone extraordinary, someone they would remember for the rest of their lives. The morning sun glinted off the parade ground, casting long shadows across the neatly lined boots of soldiers standing at attention. The general stepped forward, his eyes still locked on Major Carter. The silence in the formation was deafening. Moments ago, they had laughed. Now, every soldier felt a weight pressing down, a mix of awe, respect, and humility. Major Carter, the general began, his voice calm but commanding, I have witnessed courage before. I have seen bravery under fire, skill, and leadership in countless operations. He paused, letting the words sink in across the formation. Every soldier, even the ones who had mocked her earlier, straightened instinctively. But today, he continued, I have learned the true meaning of valor. Not from medals or decorations alone, but from the actions of a soldier who puts lives above personal recognition. From a soldier who walked through fire and returned carrying the weight of others' survival. The general reached toward his chest and pulled out a folded document, a commendation. Major Carter, he said, for extraordinary heroism, leadership, and courage under fire, I officially recognize your actions during Operation Silent Valor. This silver star represents not just your bravery, but your unwavering commitment to your team and your country. A ripple of quiet admiration moved through the soldiers. Private Logan felt a lump in his throat. The medal she already wore had been a secret of her battlefield exploits, but now the general's words had cemented her legacy in front of the entire formation. Carter stood perfectly still, her posture calm, her expression unreadable, yet her eyes reflected quiet pride. She did not smile, she never needed to, but every soldier knew in that instant that they were witnessing something rare, true heroism. The general stepped back slightly and addressed the entire formation. Let this be a lesson to all of you, he said, voice firm and echoing across the field. Do not judge by appearances. Do not mock without knowledge. Courage and sacrifice often walk quietly among us. And sometimes, the soldier you underestimate is the one who saves countless lives. Some soldiers swallowed hard. Some nodded. Others looked at their boots, thinking of the laughter that had echoed only minutes ago. Private Logan finally caught her eye. She didn't nod, didn't gesture. She simply stood tall, limping slightly, and in that quiet movement, she radiated strength that no laughter could diminish. The general gave a sharp salute, and Carter returned it. The gesture was brief but heavy with respect, more than words could convey. As the formation began to disperse, whispers replaced the previous laughter. She saved lives. She's a legend. Never judge a soldier by what you see. Private Logan carried the lesson with him as he followed the others off the parade ground. Heroism is earned in silence, tested in fire, and recognized only when courage finally speaks for itself. The soldiers had learned that day that the true measure of a warrior isn't in how they walk, but in the battles they've survived and the lives they've protected. And as the sun rose higher, the general watched Carter walk away, leaving the formation transformed. What had begun as mockery had ended in reverence, respect, and a powerful reminder that legends often walk quietly among us.